To make a bar graph, what is the first thing you have to have in order to make a bar graph? The very first thing you got to get. Yeah.
The information.
The information, the data. And once we get the data, we want to organize that in a data table. That's how the computer is going to pull the information. It's going to pull it from a data table. So for this particular project, we are going to put our categories in row 1. And you guys are going to be graphing the number of students that we have in each grade here at Good Shepherd. Now, it does not matter to me if you go from kindergarten to 6th or if you go 6th to kindergarten. It really doesn't matter. But you want them in order. You don't want to go kindergarten, 3rd, 2nd, 6th. You want to put them in order. Okay? So I'm just going to do 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and grade K. Okay. Our data that you're going to be using was pulled from the office. We have 43 students in 6th grade, 44 in 5th, 49 in 4th, 31 in 3rd, 34 in 2nd, 33 in 1st, and 30 in kindergarten. So that's the first thing you need to do, is get your data into a data table so that the computer can read it. The next thing you need to do is tell your computer exactly what you want to graph. You do that by highlighting the data table. Do not highlight the entire spreadsheet. Do not highlight the entire column. You want to highlight just the data that you're graphing. So we do that like that. In Excel, our graphs are found underneath the Chart tab. I'm not sure why they call them a chart. They do, so that's where we find them, underneath the Chart tab. And again, we're going to start with a column graph. We will get to these other graphs as well, but we're going to start with a column graph. Bar graphs in Excel are graphs that go horizontally across. We want our first ones to go vertically, just for ease, and so we're going to do a column one. Please do not choose a cylinder one or a cone one, just basic bar graph, top left one. And there we go. It puts my graph in, puts my data in, super easy. There we go. Okay. The next pieces are the pieces that we have to do to make the graph readable. Because if I turn in this right now, you're going to have no idea what it is. So the next piece is tell our audience, in this case, your teacher, me, what your graph is about. So I'm going to make my graph bigger. Right now it's kind of small. It's a little bit tricky to read, so I'm going to move it up here. Just like before, I could drag it, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to read. And now I'm going to come up here. Now, if I'm clicked on my spreadsheet, notice that I don't have those extra tabs. You only get those tabs when you are clicked on your graph. So once I'm clicked on my graph, now I have these extra purple tabs that appear. And I'm going to go to Chart Layout. Chart Title. You must have a chart title. On any graph that you create, whether it's a handwritten graph in math class or something in here, you have to have a chart title. Otherwise, your audience does not know what you're graphing. So I'm going to go ahead and click the down arrow and Chart Title. Who can tell me what is my chart title for this graph? Yeah.
Number of students for each grade.
Great. I'm just going to put students in each grade. Can we be more specific than that? What else should we add? Yeah, at Good Shepherd. Otherwise, we don't know what in the United States, in Minnesota. What are we looking at? At Good Shepherd. Notice this is a title. It is capitalized as a title. If you do not put capital letters, you are going to get half credit for this title. It's not hard to put capital letters. It's just paying attention to details. So make sure you do that. Okay. Next, access titles. Horizontal access title. Do I need one of those?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what these are down here. What would my access title be? Access title, yeah.
Grades.
Good. Grades. Good. Next. Vertical access title. Do I need this?
Yes.
What would this be? What's this one? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna change that to just number of people, number of students. Okay, those are fine. Good. On the most basic level, these are the requirements for a graph. Data, a chart title, a y-axis title, and an x-axis title. Those are the most basic requirements. Everything else from here on out are things that you can change. Okay, let's go through them. A legend. Right now, our legend says Series 1. Do I need a legend for this bar graph?
No.
No. Why not? Yeah.
Because you title it on the side.
Okay, I already have titles. Why else? Yeah.
Because there's no different colors or any.
Good, I'm only comparing one thing. I don't have a double bar graph. I don't have a triple bar graph. I'm only comparing one thing. If I did, for example, the number of boys and the number of girls per grade, would I need a legend then?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'd be comparing things. I'm not doing that here. So I don't need a legend. Can I leave it there? Sure I can. But I don't have to have it. So I could click on this and do no legend. Data labels. The first one I could choose is a value data label. That puts how much there is in each bar. This is really important to have if you're dealing with decimals. Am I dealing with decimals here? No, we don't have any half people, okay? But if you were dealing with money, for example, it's really hard to tell on a bar graph if you're dealing with $50.62 versus $50.69. That's really hard to see on a bar graph. So data labels can be really helpful when it comes to that. Do we have to have them? No, because we're dealing with whole numbers, but it's an option. Series name. Well, right now we just have one series, but again, if you're dealing with a double bar graph or a triple bar graph, sometimes a series name can be very helpful in there. Category. Well, that's just putting these bottom things up here. Can be helpful, especially if you have a lot of categories. We have 7, but imagine if you had 100. It could be helpful to have that up there. Down here, you can decide where you want those data labels to appear. Right now, they're appearing on the outside, but you could put them on the inside, okay? You could put them at the bottom, you could put them in the center, you can move those data labels around. Okay, an option. data table. The data table, if you put that on, just puts a nice little table at the bottom. Again, very helpful for decimals. Let's say you have a lot going on with your bars and it's really hard to put the decimals up there with the data labels. Well, instead, maybe you put a table at the bottom to show those amounts. Okay, it's an option for you. Don't have to have it, just an option. Access, you guys aren't going to deal with this too much. This is if you want to, like right now, these are spread out by 10. That would be if you wanted to adjust how they're spread out by. The computer typically makes the best choice that the computer thinks for your data. But if you want to adjust it, you could. Grid lines, this is something that you might do. Grid lines are these little lines that are found inside the graph. So right now, for horizontal, I have the major grid lines. You can see every 10, there are grid lines going across. But I could change that. Maybe I want minor grid lines in there. That sometimes is easy to see. 49, well, that's a lot easier because you can see, well, it goes halfway to 50, and if this is 48, then that's 49. It depends on what you're graphing. Okay? Don't have to have them, but it's an option. In the same way, vertical grid lines can be kind of helpful. It just puts a line in between each category, so it's a little bit easier to keep the categories separate. Again, right now I only have 7, but imagine if you had 20. It might be helpful to have those lines in between. Do you have any questions so far on how to customize these pieces? Yeah.
Can you change the color of it?
Yep, we're going to go through that in just a minute. Just on anything we've covered so far. Okay, let's go through how to actually customize what your graph looks like. You're going to be using your right click a lot. So if you don't have your right click on, you may want to consider putting your right click on, especially for this Excel graphing unit, because you'll be using it a lot. So the first thing I could customize is this chart area. So if I right click on it, I could go to Format Chart Area, and I could choose a fill, and I could go ahead and just fill that in. Customize the color in that area. I can customize the plot area. Again, right click, format the plot area, and I could choose a color there. Maybe I want to put a gradient in. You all know how to do a gradient, so this is not anything new. This is something that you guys have done before multiple times. But I would ask that if you do choose to put a gradient in, please be very careful with the colors that you choose. We want to make sure that you can read the graph. If I can't read the graph, you don't get credit for doing it. So the colors that you choose need to allow me to read the data. Okay. So I could go ahead and customize that piece of it. Okay. In the same way, I could come up here and let's say I want to customize this area. I can right click on this. Oops. I'm going to right click where I don't have a cursor. Format the chart title. Maybe I want to put a white around it. Format this chart title. Format this chart title down here. Maybe I want to come in here. Instead of the green. If I choose black, what else am I going to have to change?
The chart titles to like a white.
Yeah, all the numbers down here, right? I'm going to have to change those. I can't have black in there if I can't read it. Okay, but maybe I do something darker. There we go. All right. In the same way, I could change these lines. Format grid lines. Right? Not a big deal. Maybe I put in purple. I can format my data series by clicking on it. Format data series. Oh, I did line. Does everybody see how I did line there? So I turned the line around the data series green. If I want to change the fill of it, I probably need to come up here and change the fill of it. For bar graphs, do not use a gradient on the bars themselves. Because if you think about it, let's say I have a gradient and I have a white color in there, it's going to be pretty hard to tell where that bar ends if it's white or if it's changing color. So the bars themselves need to stay a solid color. You can use a gradient in the background or over here. The bars themselves need to stay a solid color. Right now, I have changed all the bars to green, and that's fine. But I can also change each individual bar. I can click on this bar only, right click, format data point. This one I want blue. Would I want to change just one and leave all the rest green? No, because then the person that's looking at the graph is going to say, why is that one different from all the rest? So if you're going to change one, you need to change all of them to be either the same or change all of them to be different. One of the two. Okay? So lots of things that you can do to customize your graph. You can change the size of your font. You can change, if you come in here and you go back to home and you want to change, I might have gotten the spinning wheel. Yep. But if you were to highlight this, you could come up and change your font type, your font color, just like you normally would. That's just fine. Okay. Any questions on how to customize your graph?